What's up, sons and daughters? It is Sam Jesse, and I'm back with the crew from Locks of Saturday, Chris and Brett. With me tonight, we got a small crew, but a huge Saturday slate. Massive games out west. As you can probably tell, there is a Big Sky theme to tonight's podcast. I got Bozeman here in the background. Chris has Missoula, Montana in the background. Brett rocking with. Where are they in Idaho?
They are. It's a good question. I don't know.
I knew where Central Michigan was located.
You had one job, Brett.
I knew where Central Michigan was located in work. And somebody asked me, how the heck do you know that Central Michigan is in Mount Pleasant?
Oh, that's right.
It's like
this is an upper.
It's in Moscow, Indiana. I mean, Idaho.
Yeah, the Moscow. This is an Upper Great Plains State podcast. We've done all of the research this week on the Big Sky Conference. We even watched Dancing with Wolves. Like we went extra levels deep to get ready for today's podcast.
Yes. So stay tuned. We will talk about the Shoshone Indian tribe, as well as the geography of the Snake River in our next podcast.
Very true.
Fellas, this is going to be a tight race at the end of the season for who gets a free drink from Sharky's from Billy Ray. Brett, you are tied with Robert, who's not with us tonight, at 32 and 29, so still floating above 500. Yours truly, after an 0-5 week of misery, pain, really just poor performance on my part, 27, 33, and 1. Ed and fourth at 27 and 34. He's had a good last couple weeks. And Chris at 26 and 35. Chris, tough week.
You stated earlier that you guys are floating and trying to stay above the water. I am currently swirling around the bowl, just ready to just end the season. That's where I'm at, both mentally, emotionally. It's been a long year.
Well, this is week 12, and this year has flown by, but there's a lot of football left to be played. I mean, we got rivalry week, we got bowl season, we got the playoffs, so much happening, a championship week for conferences, a lot going on. And guys, maybe the biggest game of the year so far outside of Tennessee, Georgia, outside of 1 versus 2, is this one happening in Los Angeles, the battle for LA. The Southern California Trojans, 1.5 point favorites against the University of California at Los Angeles Bruins. Chris, as a USC fan yourself, who's going to win this game?
Outright win?
Well, I mean, it's 1.5. You're kind of picking money line there.
Yeah, you're exactly right there. And I didn't know you could put me on the spot first here, but I said before the podcast, I'm going to speak from the heart about this game, and that's what I'm going to deliver here. You could think with your head in this one and say that the USC rush defense is atrocious. Guess what? It is. You could say that UCLA represents one of the best. I think they are top 10, if not they are close, rushing offenses in the country. They are. You could say that USC right now as a 1-loss team is performing way above expectations. They are. And UCLA as a 2-loss team is kind of exactly who we thought they are. They're competent. They are littered with 8th-year seniors. I think at this point, I feel like all of their people are above 30. And you would be right about all of that. And yet emotionally, I cannot pick the UCLA Trojans, and what it basically comes to a coin flip money line type pick here. And the main reason is that I'm picking the quarterback. I'm picking the best quarterback in this game, and that is Caleb Williams. And if anybody has not been watching West Coast football and they've been talking about the Heisman race and all of the Hendon Hooker with CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, they've been missing the glory that is Caleb Williams and the just leap that he has taken since when we last saw him at OU versus where he is now at USC. And while he has one more year of college left to go, in my personal opinion, he is the 2024 number 1 pick in that draft. And I don't think it's I don't think it's even close. He is extremely gifted. He has a ton of weapons. Lincoln Riley is a very smart coach. Their defense stinks. We all know this. This is going to be a high-scoring game. And at the end of the day, I'm picking a much more cerebral Lincoln Riley versus what I would consider to be a somewhat can stumble at certain times Chip Kelly type program. So I'm just taking what I believe is to be the better quarterback, the better coach. Two teams that are somewhat even, give or take. USC's offensive weapons, UCLA, they're kind of limited to just kind of being a ground rushing type style offense. And then it's just going to be who has the ball last going into it. And in that moment, if it's a coin flip right now, I believe that's going to be USC driving the ball, maybe down or maybe just trying to get a first down to close out the game. It just seems like a better value. And what -1.5? I don't know what the money line is. It's probably pretty narrow, but it's just the better value if you want to. It's a 75.5 point over under. So I think Vegas agrees with me that this is going to be a very high scoring game. And
the money line.
Last point.
The money line.
Yeah, go for it.
USC -125.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're just betting, you're betting. I think it's a 90-ish thousand plus Rose Bowl that's going to be capped with banded seats and coverings across the board. So the fact that USC has to quote unquote play on the road at UCLA a couple miles up the road and they still can't get enough tickets sold. I just don't think you're going to get a raucous, night atmosphere at UCLA. So it's going to become pretty much a home game for USC as well. So give me the Trojans just for all the factors I said beforehand.
I am now realizing that I flipped the order on you guys, so I apologize for it. If you're interested in watching this game, it will be at 8 p.m. on Fox. As Chris said, the over-under 75.5. For me, I haven't had a good betting year. I haven't had a good one. And one of the reasons I haven't had a good one is because I have doubted the UCLA Bruins. Over and over again, I've doubted them. And over again, they proved me wrong. So tonight, I'm here in the UCLA jersey, the beautiful powder blue and gold, which, by the way, one of the best sights in college football is...
Real quick, which jersey number?
Jersey number 1?
Is that a player?
Not a clue.
All right, we're going to do some research. We'll get back to you.
We'll do a research.
It's quarterback number 1?
I know they had a quarterback that was number 11 that was pretty good. I played with him in NCAA 2006.
Brett Hundley was 11, wasn't he?
No, don't bring up Brett Hundley. That was a bad game.
Yeah.
No, I've doubted UCLA, and they've proved me wrong. And I'm all in on the Bruins in this game. I just think the way that they have won football games this year has been really impressive. It's been vintage Chip Kelly. They've built this team through the transfer portal, through keeping players on campus and developing them. Fifth-year quarterback, transfer running back, transfer wide receiver. Defensively, they've played much better. They're still not very good defensively, playing much better. I think Travis Dye being out for USC takes away some of the star factor that they had. So I'm going to go UCLA at home, +1.5, give you that little point extra. Huge game. And I think what this does at the end of the day, this game knocks out the Pac-12 out of the college football playoff.
I will interject quickly before Brett. I'm an idiot. That is Dorian Thompson-Robinson right now, who is the active quarterback.
Yeah, that's right.
Note to the wise, he has been the UCLA quarterback for the last 10 years. Little known fact.
His first game was a road start against Cincinnati, and it was horrific. It was one of the worst quarterback performances I've ever watched, and here he is. So,
all right, Brett.
Stick to it. Brett, USC, UCLA.
So are we just going to gloss over the fact that this team, that UCLA lost to Arizona last week? We're just going to not talk. We're just going to not talk about that. I'm pretty sure Arizona money line was plus 1,400, and they won.
We're just going to look.
20.5 point dogs went out.
We're not picking that game, Brett. We're picking this game.
Well, I mean, that's why I'm picking USC. I mean, I just think they're a better team all around. I think UCLA has proved a lot of people wrong. I think Chip Kelly is a good coach. I think that's why they turned it around so fast, because UCLA hasn't had a good coach since, I don't know, Neuheisel sucked, or he was average. He beat USC once.
Mora,
But
Jim Mora.
You go Jim Mora.
Mora probably was the last one. That was what, 12 years ago?
Yeah.
So, I mean, UCLA has the ability to have – they get the talent. They just haven't had a good coach, and Chip Kelly's been able to get what he's had out of the good players that they have now. So, all the props to him. But, I mean, UCLA – I mean, is it really a home game for UCLA? I mean, a lot of USC – that stadium is, like, usually pretty 50-50 on this type of game. And it's not even sold out. Like, people say, oh, it's like 70 out of the 90,000 tickets have been sold or whatever. And UCLA – there's zero home advantage playing UCLA, especially when you're playing your rival that's 25 minutes away, but really like 2 hours, including traffic. So I don't know. I'm on USC here. I think they're the better team. I think Dorian Thompson Robinson, Jesus. DTR, that's what I say. He's obviously been a lot better this year. The Pac-12, good quarterbacks this year.
Really good quarterbacks.
Yeah, Michael Penix Jr. What the hell? What the heck happened to him? Like, how did he was literally like the worst quarterback I've ever seen in the Big Ten, and then he came to Washington. But anyway, got off subject. I'm still on UC here, basically in a pick 'em, I think, in a rivalry game, and I think they're a far better team. That over/under, I don't know if I can touch that. That is a lot.
No.
And UCLA is, I think
That's
UCLA is 1-3 in their last overs. So, not sure about that. But
Little known historical fact. We talked about head coaches for UCLA. I wanted to interject. If you remember, if anybody ever watched the Invincible movie starring the Philadelphia Eagles, it was Dick Vermeil was the UCLA head coach for 2 seasons before becoming the Philadelphia Eagles head coach. He had a plus 0.700 plus winning record at UCLA. So he technically, even though he was only there for 2 seasons, winning percentage in UCLA football history. You're welcome.
One of the great offensive minds in the history of the National Football League, Dick Vermeil. According to Action Network, 65% of bets are on UCLA in this game. I got to think a lot of that's just going for the home team. And I mean, let's be honest, USC is one of the new villains of college football, and it's glorious, and they should be. They should embrace the role. It's great.
As a familiar person with Los Angeles area college sports, UCLA might be the home team, but just like Dodgers and Angels, USC is the Los Angeles team. So that is always the home team in football. Yes, you are correct.
But pretty much everything else, UCLA owns USC.
Well, let's travel a bit further north up the Pacific coast to Eugene, Oregon, where the Utah Utes are playing in a big one. Utah, after absolutely just spanking Oregon twice last year, now have a chance to upset the Ducks and kick them out of the college football playoff race. Utah is +3 in this game. It will be televised at 10:30 p.m. on ESPN. Over/under is 61.5. Fellas, this is a big game against two programs that have kind of become rivals in the past few years because they've been the top 2 programs in the conference.
Yeah, for sure. I'll chime in real quick. I mean, Utah's playing really good ball right now. They ripped off 4 wins in a row after UCLA loss. I mean, just straight up slaughtering opponents in the last 2 games, Arizona and Stanford, both weak teams, but I mean, just flat out, 40+ points and just dominating the whole game. But Oregon at home at night, Autzen Stadium, going to get home. I think you got to go with that. It's hard for me to go against Oregon. I think it is tough, just because Utah Whittingham, I think, does coach tougher football. But Dan Lanning has instilled some toughness in that team. He brought that Southeast, just Billy Rice love this grit into, Oregon that they seem to have been missing, even with Cristobal there. They still seem to be missing it, but they're playing a lot tougher. Bo Nix, as much he's playing, right? Like, did he play? He played last week, though, right?
Yeah, he played last week.
Against Washington, but
Mhm.
yeah, he wasn't completely healthy last week, so I'm not sure that really affected that game too much, though. But anyway, I still think they have the better quarterback overall. Utah's kind of flipped back and forth between their two guys. Yeah, I'm on Oregon here at home with Dotson. I think if it's at Utah, I think Utah wins the game outright. But I think I like Oregon here, and I believe actually Oregon are dogs, if I'm not mistaken. Aren't Oregon dogs now? They opened as favorites, but now they're dogs.
Action Network currently has this. Oh yeah, they actually do. So now the spread is currently -2 for Utah. That's an interesting movement.
Yeah, so that's another reason because I saw it on the screen. I was like, I'm pretty sure I took Oregon as a dog today.
Let me real quick. Nah, we won't change it. You'll figure it out. Take someone. Guys, this was a really tough game for me because on one hand, I love Oregon at home. It feels stupid to bet against Oregon at home. However, the matchup that we have seen last year, we saw it twice. The game wasn't even close. Like the style of play that Utah played just completely dominated Oregon. So, I also wanted to look at the Oregon defense because we know that they're going to be really good offensively and they're going to score points. But how are they going to be able to stop Cam Rising in a Utah offense that's still really, really good? Oregon's defense has been really flip-flop. So their EPA per play against teams that have an above 500 record, and they've played 5 of them, is 0.286. Probably doesn't mean a lot to you, but that basically is not good. That means the other team is gaining a lot of yards and they're meaningful yards. EPA per play against teams that are sub 500, which are the other 5 that they've played, EPA per play negative 0.07, which is pretty good. Not great, but it's pretty darn good. It really does seem like Oregon defensively cannot deal with good teams. They have feasted on lesser teams. I think a lot of their defensive metrics are being really shaded to who they have played this year. Because if you look at some of the teams that they've played, Eastern Washington only has 2 wins on the year. They're terrible. Stanford's terrible. Cal is terrible. Colorado's terrible. Those are 4 of their games against sub 500 opponents. They have kind of feasted on bad teams. You've seen them play better teams. They struggled defensively against UCLA. They struggled defensively against Arizona, who has a good offense, and they struggled defensively against Washington. And oh, by the way, that Georgia game still happened. And I know Georgia is at a completely different stratosphere in college football, but Georgia absolutely crushed them. So for this game, I feel like I can trust Utah more. And I really don't care what the spread is. I do think this is a game where Utah kind of imposes their will on the line of scrimmage and pretty much dominates this game. You're going to have to stay up late to watch it, but I like Utah in this one. Take a money line, probably. If the spread is really close, I just feel like this game could get kind of weird. So take a money line if you think it's going to get weird. Check what the spread is. It will probably move by the time you bet it. We're Thursday night right now. It might move by game time at 10:30, but going with the Utes. I got the Rose Bowl shirt on.
Double.
Going with the Utes.
How many Pac-12 layers do you have on right now, Sam?
Just 2.
Just the 2. Good to go.
Just the 2. Yeah.
I'm going to pivot away from that pick. I'm going to agree with the Oregon -3. And for me, everybody laid out all the cases. For me, it is basically I am just buying the Ducks ground game. They're top 10 nationally. I believe they're 9th. And the fact that Utah's main weakness, regardless of all those considerations, seems to be that they just can't handle really good running quarterbacks. That is what I'm taking against the Utah defense. I don't know if they're just uber aggressive. They just do something schematically that if you have a really solid runner on the opposite side, they're going to be exposed in that rushing component of the game. So losses to Florida with Richardson, with losses to UCLA with DTR. Bo Nix, as much as I begrudgingly and picking him this week represents another dynamic quarterback, a really solid runner that can get out there and do things to keep Utah on their toes. So as much as I've been haunted by Bo Nix all season and picking against and betting against Bo Nix, I am begrudgingly laying the points and I'm betting on him this week with the Oregon rush game. And that's the only fine line right now. So I'm basically taking the fact that I do believe that Oregon is the better program, the better team on the field. They're at home and they're only favored by a field goal. So basically, Vegas sees these teams as equivalent. I do not believe that is the case. I feel like Oregon is more explosive than Utah is. Utah is going to have to grind out drives in order to be able to win this game. So just give me the one variable that I have seen, which is Utah does not contain well against running quarterbacks. So I hate it. This is almost like my gambling stink versus the fact that Bo Nix can or cannot be good. So if it's me picking Oregon and Bo Nix drops a complete 0, I have cosmic powers. That's also what I'm kind of experimenting with this game this week. So we're going to find out.
It's going to be a great game. And I think a lot of people who are East Coast football watchers, you kind of can get bogged down into whoever your team is and then the SEC. Look out west, because the Pac-12 has been such an incredible conference this year.
Late night in Autzen Stadium too. It's going to be awesome.
It is an SEC.
That's going to be a very, very loud crowd.
Yep. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be freezing cold. Should be a fun one. But fellas, the game of the week is the brawl of the wild between Montana State and Montana. It is a heated rivalry. The trophy weighs over 300 pounds. It will be 25 degrees in Bozeman. College game day will be there. I mean, what more could you want from football? You could not want more. This game will be at 2:00 on ESPN Plus. If you don't have ESPN Plus, I'm sure you can find a stream somewhere on Reddit. If you don't know how to use Reddit, ask your kids. Over under 56.5 for this game. It is on every single major sports book. It's on FanDuel, it's on DK, it's on whatever, Barstool, Caesars, all of it. So one of the most, I would say, in terms of sports betting, outside of the playoffs, one of the more accessible games to bet on that we've ever seen. Brett, who's going to win it?
I'm all over Montana State here, actually. To me, I just think it's rivalry game. I think has definitely shrunk this line down, but I think Montana State is the far better team here. 5-0 at home against the spread this year. Common opponents, they've beaten common opponents in Montana and beaten them pretty evenly. They just put up 72 last week on Cal Poly, who's really bad. Don't get me wrong, really bad. Montana beat them 57-0, but Montana State also just put up 72 last week. So coming off that's got to feel pretty good. At home, 25 degrees. It's going to be crazy. Not that Bozeman was expensive already. Apparently, it has just gotten ludicrous out there how expensive it is to go to this game and how expensive it is to fly. People are traveling for this game just to go. Obviously, Yellowstone has turned Montana into a Westworld reality for people in the United States, if anybody's watched that show. So I think that's another reason. I'm all over Montana State here. There's the better team at home. One of the best teams in college football as a whole against the spread. I think they're 8-2, I believe. So, Montana State.
I'm rooting for the Bobcats in this one. Montana State, they're the better team. This is not a great line, I don't think. I think you should absolutely hammer Montana State -1.5. It's my lock of the week. It's my game of the week. It might be my game of the year. This Montana State offense is filthy. The lowest point total they've had this year was 28 against Oregon State. Tommy Mellett, the quarterback for Montana State, a Butte, Montana native, got hurt at the end of last year and couldn't help the Montana State Bobcats win the FCS championship. He's on a revenge tour this year in his sophomore year. Over 1,200 yards passing, over 700 yards rushing. The guy's a pure dual threat. He's a ton of fun to watch. I love this. I love this team. I love this game. It's a great rivalry. Everything that's good about college football is going to be on the field in Bozeman at 2 p.m. Eastern. So if you can watch it, it's worth it. Should be an awesome, awesome game. But I'm going big on the Bobcats, and I think they win this one and march on their way to an FCS national title, as I predicted at the beginning of the season. If you saw the All Around the ACC article that I contributed to. So heavily indebted to Montana State. Chris, you got the Grizzlies background behind you. So I'm guessing you're going with the Grizz.
No, I had to round it out because when I logged in and I saw that you had the Montana State one, full disclosure, I also had the Montana State background. So I didn't want to be redundant here. So I just had to show some love somewhat to the Grizzlies and their stadium and their environment. It's beautiful. I feel like if you have an outdoor stadium, which by the way, Idaho with the Vandals and the indoor and the Kibbie Dome, it's great. But if you play in the upper Great Plains, you have to play outdoors. And I feel like a precursor to all of that, you have to have some sort of large mound of a mountain behind directly in your stands. But I am also going with Montana State in this one. And for me, it was just Montana State, for all the reasons that everybody just said. They have the best, one of the best offense in the Big Sky in FCS football. They're truly explosive. And they're going to be at home. So they have that comfortability with it. So I like that factor of an explosive offense at home. And the other part is over the last 5 years, other than what you laid out, Sam, the fact that they didn't have one of the availabilities of their best player last year, over the last 5 years, they're 4-1 against Montana. They have been the better Montana program over the last 5 years. I remember watching Montana as a dominant FCS football team, kind of in the precursor days in the mid 2000s into the early 2010s until North Dakota State kind of took over. But I just feel like Montana State is just a better program at this point. So since 2016, the last 5 games, obviously they didn't play in 2020. They are the better team. They're 4-1 straight up, and at a +1.5 type margin right now, or excuse me, 1.5 point margin, you're basically picking somebody to win outright at this point. Montana State, they're 9-1, 7-0 in conference in the Big Sky. Montana State 7-3, not bad, but 4-3 in the conference. So obviously Montana State has been the better team against common opponents, as you discussed. Montana State 440 points scored this year. Montana, this is one of those strengths versus strength type game. Montana is a better defensive team, only 149 points allowed this year. And usually the old adage is defense travels. So I was wary about that one in this matchup, but in a rivalry game, I feel like that kind of gets leaned out a little bit. So I'm kind of going off of vibes here. But it was just the similar performance against common opponents factor. Sacramento State, Weber State, for those who have not been familiar with how to pronounce it. And then Idaho, Montana State just performed better. They put up a massive amount of points. Montana, who is the better defensive team, has actually given up, 30 burgers to those teams. So they might be good defensively, but that might be just against garbage opponents. Against the better opponents, they're actually giving up points. So I believe that Montana State is one of the better ones in the Big Sky. So they're going to give up a lot of points in this game that Montana is used to. So I'm buying into that as well. And I mean, I tried to consider it as a factor. I couldn't necessarily know how to score it. But just the fact of a Grizzly facing a Bobcat, if it's ever tie goes to the runner, yes, Grizzly show force, big mammal. It shows some good power. Bobcat very nimble, kind of death by 1,000 cuts. I feel like a Bobcat that's well motivated in its own home can kind of take it to you a little bit too. So I don't know if anybody else has any kind of mascot related insight here, but.
We're getting towards hibernation time for bears as well.
There you go. Yeah. So, sleepy bear.
A little bit fat, a little bit chubby.
Full. Yeah. It's been stocking up on omnivorous. It's been eating a lot of plant-based materials and proteins. It's ready to go take a nap.
To bring it back
This
to
is
football.
the hard hitting analysis.
Well,
that
I
you
mean,
get
that's
with
the
Lock
important
Saturday.
analysis. Let's be honest. That's the important analysis. If you want a defensive player to look out for in this game, one of the best names in college football, Montana State linebacker Callahan O'Reilly, a native of Bozeman, Montana, the senior. He has 67 tackles and 4 interceptions this year to go along with 2.5 sacks and 2 forced fumbles.
You could have said
Pretty-
native.
pretty productive.
That name,
Ireland.
that
That would've made
name
sense.
on Montana, that guy sounds like he's made out of leather and spurs.
Callahan
Some sort
O'Reilly
of-
sounds like a character in Yellowstone.
Yes.
I mean, it sounds like you made up a name for a cowboy. Callahan O'Reilly.
Yeah. He is an extra in the movie The River Runs Through It. That is how big sky that name is.
I love it. I mean, again, like I make the joke of like I love the Mountain West and stuff like that, but like this is why you love college football. It's rivalries, seniors playing in a big game. It's going to be cold. Championships on the line for this one. Love it. You gotta love every part of it. All right, guys. It's not just a big week though in college football. It's a big week in the NFL as well. And NFL Sundays are only getting better, and so are the incredible offers at the DraftKings Sportsbook. Special offer for you. If you haven't signed up with the DraftKings Sportsbook yet, you can do it. Use referral code SOS when you sign up on the DraftKings Sportsbook app, and then you can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win, and you get $200 in free bets if they do. Check this out right now. Everyone can earn up to 100% boost with DraftKings stepped up same game parlays. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, place the same game parlay bet, and combine multiple bets like which team will win, player props, point totals, whatever you can think of. They're all there for same game parlays. If you want something this week, Browns Buffalo. I know I'm a Browns guy. Game just got moved to Detroit. Kind of weird. Bills coming off of a tough overtime loss. Browns getting some pieces back. Josh Allen hurt. Might want to sprinkle something on the Browns money line there. Just a sprinkle. Not saying it's going to happen, but it's worth a sprinkle. So with bigger payouts than ever, DraftKings Sportsbook is the go-to when betting on the NFL.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now using promo code SOS and place a $5 pregame moneyline bet to get $200 in free bets if your team wins. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL with code SOS. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details.
All right, fellas. Brett, give me a winner. Just give me a winner.
This week was tough a little bit. Got burned last week on this team, so I'm chasing, which is never a good idea, but I'm doing it anyway. ECU -6 at home against Houston, Dowdy Stadium. Tough place to play. It's nothing like the jungle of their baseball stadium. That is the craziest sports at college.
That is a
atmosphere.
phenomenal place.
That
pretty
stadium is the equivalent of a
It's like the Carrier Dome.
Sunday. It's a Sunday morning frat basement of college football. That's how I'm going to describe
I'm pretty
it.
sure I played softball games at my fraternity that look similar to that. I'm pretty like they can like reach down and like touch the opposing outfielders they want to. But anyway, yeah, I mean I think it's going to be rowdy as it always is at ECU. Houston's not very good. I just don't think they're that good, and their defense is horrific. Obviously, if you saw, they got 77 put on them 2 weeks ago against Southern Methodist, who is getting their absolute skull beaten in by Tulane right now. So, I don't know. I think ECU is the pick there. -6, less than a touchdown at home. Give me the Pirates.
If I have to pick a winner right now, last week, Ed came on here with a really good pick. Auburn -1.5 at home against Texas A&M. They got it for new head coach Cadillac Williams. This week, Auburn's -5.5 against Western Kentucky.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to go with UMass.
You thought
you were going to
was.
go with UMass. I was so excited. You were going to go with UMass against A&M.
Western Kentucky's a good team. They can score a lot of points. But what Auburn has right now is the it factor of the interim coach, who's a former superstar. They're playing really hard for him. That was a weird, like, I thought they could have blown out Texas A&M in that game. Like, some things just didn't go their way late. 5.5, Auburn to win by a touchdown at home against Western Kentucky. That's all you're betting. That's all you're betting. Take it. Don't be an idiot. Take it. The value of this pick is so high. You are being given a gift. Auburn by a touchdown at home.
Yep, I got that. That's on my card.
I was so excited for you to just bet on the misery of Texas A&M and the fact that they're playing a cupcake UMass team, and that just would have been beautiful. That's a sicko bet right there.
I would say
33.5, I believe, is the line.
33.5 on the old Minutemen.
I mean, yeah. I don't know if Texas A&M scores 33. I'm not
UMass
betting it.
Is so bad, though. Like, they honestly would not even be in the middle of FCS right now.
You do have to worry at that point about, like, pure size.
Yeah.
Like, will they be able to tackle a player on Texas A&M?
Hey, the history of the Minutemen is strong.
Will somebody get hurt?
Like, the only argument you can make for 33.5 for UMass is that Texas A&M probably couldn't score 33 points right now with nobody on the field. So, like, do they just, like, put up 21-0 and then just lay the blitz on the rest of the game and that's it?
I don't know. I'm staying away from that one.
You know it's a good segment when you talk more about a game that you didn't talk about. All right.
I mean, Chris, give me a winner.
Well, I'm going to give you a winner here, and that is another former team that we used to joke and laugh off all the time, but they are the team that I have been writing all year. I love them. They are my vibes team of 2022, and that is the UConn Huskies plus 10.5 at Army. Let's go. So they are right now 9-2 against the spread. That is astonishing. 81.8%. Jim Mora has this team playing at an absolute top level, at least in terms of against expectations. They are underdogs every single week, especially straight up double-digit underdogs. And they've won against the spread 7 straight weeks in a row. So this is a heat check type moment against the ultimate. I think Air Force at this point is the ultimate ball control rushing offense, but Army, of course, all your service academies are always going to be that way. But once again, even if they're bowl eligible and they've clawed out of the basement, they are double-digit underdogs, quote-unquote, on the road. They're just going down to Mitchie Stadium in West Point. It's not a very long travel for UConn to get down there from Storr, Connecticut, I believe it is. And the other thing I love about this UConn team is not only are they covering 3 in that 7 straight, 3 outright dog wins. They had a plus 250 against BC. The funny thing is, against these plus odds, Boston College, a Power 5 team, is the only Power 5 team, and they had the lowest money line odds, and they covered, and they won straight up. They covered, obviously, last week, plus 418 against Liberty. A lot of Tech fans are just lamenting an inevitable Liberty loss this week, and UConn beat them last week at plus 418. And then earlier in the year, if you've been following just bad football all year, they were an astonishing plus 1150 versus Fresno State, and they won straight up. A huge win. So just betting UConn straight up presents value week to week to week, but definitely against the spread. I love underdogs for the most part that cover and win, but to have an underdog with an actual dog mascot that is covering and winning straight up, I love that even more. Hopefully in the graphic, we put the friendly, smiling husky dog face versus that like
the big
wolf
floofer
kind of, the big floofer versus like the streamlined like wolf mascot dog husky image logo. It's a straight vibes pick. I don't really believe Army is that good. They will control the ball. They will run. They're not that good. And UConn, somewhat of a just they're just performing well above expectations. So I'm just riding the hot hand this week with them.
They lost to Troy last week, 9-10, and then they lost to Air Force the week before.
Exactly. So I'm buying double-digit points with a team that is not only covering but winning outright. So that's the goal here.
They should have beat Ball State too. They should.
By the way,
for
the listeners, other than TCU, who I think is like almost undefeated against the spread. UConn is the second best team in the country against the spread this year.
Crazy.
Take that to the bank.
Brett, another winner, please.
That actually was my second winner, but I got another one. Hold on.
Let's go. Just do it. Just piggyback. Give me strength. My picks usually pull it down. Brett, I need you to bet it to pull it back up.
I'm giving you strength, but just for sake of content like that, I'm all over that. And I got it at 10.5. So it's like I got it. So that's huge at half point.
Let's go.
So wait, you got it. You got it at. Wait, what's the spread for that game? You got it at 10.5
this morning.
Chris, you have it at 7.5?
No, 10.5. It's still at 10.5.
10.5.
Yeah. You should be running to DraftKings at this point.
Yeah, add it to my card. The 10.5. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Army's defense is bad too.
Yeah.
Army's defense is bad.
I hate it. We're not talking about them this week for the first time in a while, but I'm doing it. I got burned by them last week because I just thought it was going to happen, but it's going to happen this week. Baylor, 2.5 at home. Give it to me. I think TCU loses after kind of a heat, like I like the term heat check game after going down to Texas and kind of dominating them. But Texas played so bad and still kept it close. I mean, Quinn Ewers, first of all, I was going to say
he's not good.
I was out on him like as soon as he transferred. I'm just going to say that anyway. Baylor plus 2.5 at home against TCU. They're going to lose at some point. They just aren't. It's just not. They're not going to run the table. Nobody runs the table in college football anymore. It just doesn't happen. College kids are stupid. They just don't do it anymore. There's too much crazy stuff that happens. Baylor is a tough place to play at home against TCU. They're good. They're not the best Baylor team that there's ever been. I will admit that, but I like it. I think this is like the perfect letdown spot for TCU, and this is it right here. I'm gonna look like an idiot. I probably will look like an idiot on Monday or Sunday. I might,
maybe,
but
yeah, you never know. You really never know with these guys. Like that's one thing is if you watch college football long enough, you can kind of sniff out those games. Like that's the game it all comes crashing down.
I'm betting the spot, not the team.
Exactly. You're betting the narrative. The story fits right there. TCU gets snubbed from the playoffs at 11-1 because they lose to their rival Baylor by 7. Like that tracks. We've seen that story before. For me, I'm not really betting on one team as much as I am betting against another team. And if you had to choose a team to bet against in college football this year, Brett, Chris, who do you guys think I should bet against? A Power 5 team to bet against?
Texas A&M.
Texas A&M is one of them. Yeah.
We talked about down bad programs. The worst ones in both, not just this year, but over the last 5 years. Stanford, Miami, Virginia Tech, for all of our Hokie fans out there. I'm trying to remember the last two. I believe Texas A&M is one of them. This is subpar performance against expectations in Oklahoma.
Yeah, those teams are down bad. I don't think anyone is more down bad, though, than the Colorado Buffaloes.
Oh,
the worst.
Yeah,
the
worst. But in order to be down bad, you have to be up good.
Yeah, that's true. They traveled to Seattle to play Washington. So you're having the 128th EPA per pass defense in the country traveling on the road to play the nation's leading passer and the number 7 EPA per pass offense in the country in Washington.
So crazy to me. That's Michael Penix Jr. Like,
he's so good.
Insane.
He's so good.
Betting against him in Indiana was literally free money.
The spread right now is 30.5. That's a really, really big number. And I know it's a big number, but hear me out. Let's go through Colorado's games real quick. They lost by 31 to Air Force. They somehow only lost by 25 to TCU. They lost by 31 to Air Force, 42 to Minnesota. Let's see. That's going to be 28 to UCLA. Lost by 23 to Arizona. They lost by 33 to Oregon State. They lost by 39 to Oregon. They lost by 38 to USC. They lose by 30 plus pretty much every time they play a team with a pulse. Washington. Book it. Book it. It's a win. It's a really big spread, but buy into that spread. Also, this season, more than any other season, I forget the actual stat. I know Barstool has put it out a few times. Teams that are favored by 3 or more touchdowns are doing phenomenally against the spread this year. So, big win for the Huskies at home.
Well, I'm going to pick another down bad program against what I would consider to be lower than expected performance, kind of in line to it, but I believe that they are done. So I am taking Clemson at home -19. Crazy number versus Miami, because Miami, and I have it here in all caps, is done. DONE. They are complete. You have Mario Cristobal calling out parental people online. He is just the program is in shambles at this point. They are so broken. They have a long way to go. I just don't think that's going to lead to a good, I would say, week worth of preparation to go on the road against Clemson. And yes, 2 weeks ago, Clemson lost. Everybody kind of wrote them off. Here's the thing. If you are a perennial contender and you have one loss, you're never out of the picture. If you're within the top 10 going into the final week, you're not out of the college football playoff picture. So the fact that Miami got crushed 45-3 versus Florida State at home, quote unquote, it's another week where Clemson, I believe, can put up some style points, absolutely do the exact same thing. And then they can look at in front of them and say, we have 4 teams in front of us. 2 of those have 2 losses. We could potentially be, over the next course of the few weeks, blow out Miami, put it on versus South Carolina, and then face a 1-loss, potentially UNC team in the ACC championship game and win that game outright. And then what happens over the next the next few weeks for all the teams in front of them, you have no idea. So they have something to play for, is kind of the point I'm getting at there. Is it possible that Clemson can get into the college football playoff with 1 loss against Notre Dame? Absolutely. Because as we have witnessed, the college football playoff committee is all about what have you done for me lately, and Clemson has always been a perennial winner. So at the end of the day, they're going to pick the best program in the team more so than just, this team lost 1 game in a weak conference. They'll give the benefit of the doubt that just Clemson's a good program, so they do have something to play for. So that factors into another downstream pick here, but I still see 2 SEC teams, 1 Big Ten, and then the variability between a potential ACC versus Pac-12 if USC wins out to winner. That's my coin flip. You can still bet on the fact that Clemson at plus 450 right now to make the college football playoff. That wasn't the case a few weeks ago.
There's a lot of chaos that can happen in the next.
So it's everything with the final rivalry games against the best teams in each conference, mixed with the fact when you have championship games line up. So
Clemson needs UNC to win out, though.
They
don't make it.
They have the 6th best odds right now to make the college football playoffs. The only teams in front of them are Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU, and Tennessee. So that kind of lines up to my 1 Big Ten, 2 SEC, and then who else? So take that for what it's worth, but you got to win some pretty, I would say, blowout type games. This game seems perfectly lined up for it, given the status of the 2 programs. Clemson trying to just pour it on, and Miami, I think they're just broken. Who could have guessed it? Miami broken? It's November.
They're the living mom, come pick me up, I'm scared. Yes. That's literally what's happening in their program right now. And not to talk about Virginia Tech too much, but Tech's in shambles right now. The team is garbage. The coaches don't know what they're doing, but at least the parents aren't coming to pick up the kids.
We kind of knew that Tech had a high percentage chance of being garbage this year. There was a lot of buy-in into Miami. Nobody had Tech predicted at all whatsoever.
They were preseason number 9, weren't they? Miami or 10?
Correct.
Brett froze and then died.
Miami not only broke themselves, but they broke Brett as well.
They did, and we were about to get to Brett's nutty pick of the week. I'll go for my graveyard shift pick of the week while Brett gets loaded back up. Sam's graveyard shift pick of the week. I don't love this one, but I love it enough that I think it is worth throwing something at. LSU burned me last week. They were 3.5-point favorites at Arkansas. They played a backup quarterback and they only won the game by 3. Offensively, they were a train wreck. However, they get to play at home 9:00 on ESPN2 against UAB, a good UAB team. However, a UAB team that has a really bad rush defense. And when you're going up against a good running back and a very good running quarterback, that's not what you want. I think LSU is going to run all over UAB. Right now, it's at LSU -15. I love that. I think LSU blows them out of the water because LSU needs style points right now.
They're the agent of chaos.
A lot
They're
of
the
them.
true agent of chaos.
They need a lot of style points. And I think getting it against a team in UAB that is not really good. They're not a great group of 5 team, but they're serviceable. I think is going to be really key for them. They're playing at home, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Give me LSU -15. Brett, your nutty pick of the week.
This is the penultimate, I think. Still hitting. Last week, it hit barely, but it did. I did this one. I think I just do it just because the trend that it's going. I have to do it. It's absolutely insane pick. Iowa at Minnesota under 32.5. Less than 5 touchdowns in a football game. In a Power 5 football game.
When you say it like that, it sounds like actually way too many points.
Yeah, I mean, so my thing is Minnesota. The reason they're winning games is they're controlling the football with Mo Ibrahim. So they're just going to run the ball. Iowa's run defense is really good, so it's just going to be immovable object versus with an unstoppable force, and it's just going to be the whole game. Because
Brett, do you want to know the weather report for Minneapolis, Minnesota on Saturday at 4 p.m.?
I think I might have it. Well, go ahead. I saw it, but I forgot what it was.
So the high is going
degrees.
to be 14 degrees. Winds 15 to 25 miles an hour with high wind gusts possible.
Yeah, so no throwing. I mean, Minnesota doesn't throw the ball anyway. Tanner Morgan, I'm not sure if he's playing. Is he playing?
I don't know, but Tanner Morgan has been at Minnesota so long that he now has his arm is falling off. He's been a quarterback for that long.
He has a fully
I need Minnesota to win this
pension.
game so they cash their over.
Yeah.
Tanner Morgan has a he has a pension. He's good to go. He's taken care of. Tanner Morgan.
Mo Ibrahim, though, really good running back, just on an average team, and then playing the best run defense in the Big Ten. Or one of the best.
Yeah, really, really, really good. Yeah, should be a terrible, terrible football game. Rooting big for the Gophers there. Chris, your captain's choice of the week to round us out.
I don't know how long it took me to get to this realization that the captain's pick should just be picking Navy every week. So I'm going to go ahead and just pick Navy really this week at +16 versus UCF. I believe they're getting stronger in their normal identity as the season has gone on. They had some couple hiccup type games, but I really liked how they played Notre Dame close last week. They're that type of team that they always are: ball control, possession offense. UCF is a good opponent in this case, but I just don't believe in the fact that Navy's going to get blown out by almost 3 touchdowns. It's at +16 right now, so that's a lot of points for me. So it's another vibes pick this week. I'm just taking a standard triple option ball control offense on the road against a UCF team who I think at this point is just trying to win the game and get through to next week to get to closer to the AAC championship game. I think they're right up there. So I just don't think they're going to try to do anything special and just grind out a close win.
Guys, it's going to be a really fun weekend of college football. The good news for us, most of us won't be able to watch the Liberty Virginia Tech game. Only those in attendance will be able to see it. You can listen to it on the radio, though. That'll be fun. Bill Roth on the call for that one for the Hokies.
It's not on ESPN Plus.
I'm not going to do that. That's so much effort.
No, I'm just saying. I thought it was. I'm just asking.
It is. It's on ESPN Plus. Any thoughts? Hokies 10-point dogs? No thoughts?
Just because I physically get sick when I want to bet Liberty to win, or even cover, or for them to have any success, it physically pains me. Yeah, the whole single-digit loss thing theory just
didn't work out last week.
Didn't work at all. No. So I think I'm just gonna have to go. I'm staying out of it. I can't even say anything.
Yeah, I can't say anything either.
It's the weekend before Thanksgiving. Enjoy your Saturday before family comes into town. Just
watch a different game.
Don't
watch
just
this
do
game.
Something. Go outside, touch grass, enjoy something. Enjoy something different. Don't watch this game.
Yeah, literally anything else.
We're 2-8.
Yeah,
not worth watching.
The good thing I can say is many programs have come back from really bad years. Washington was 0-12. 4 years later, they were in the playoff picture. 5 years later, they were in the playoff. It happens. That'll do it. Watch basketball. Yeah, the Hokies close win against ODU, but boy, we needed that. That'll do it. Irby's not on to sign us off. So anyone want to sign us off?
Sure. Go Hokies.